It was a dreary November night when my work was finally done. I was so anxious it was almost agony. I gathered all my instruments, ready to infuse a spark of life into the thing at my feet. It was already 1 in the morning, rain pattering against the window panes, my candle almost burnt out. And then, in that flickering light, I saw it. The creature's dull yellow eye opened. It took a hard breath, and its limbs convulsed. How can I even begin to describe the catastrophe the wretch I had worked so hard to create? His limbs were in proportion, and I'd chosen his features to be beautiful. Beautiful, great God! His yellow skin barely covered the muscles and arteries underneath. His hair was lustrous, black and flowing, his teeth pearly white, but these details only made the rest more horrifying. His watery eyes were almost the same color as their sockets, and his skin was shriveled, his lips straight and black. I had worked for nearly 2 years, sacrificing my own health and rest, all for this one moment. I'd wanted it with a passion beyond moderation, but now that I had finished, the beauty of my dream vanished. Horror and disgust filled my heart. I couldn't stand to look at what I'd made. I rushed out of the room, pacing my bedchamber, unable to sleep. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and I collapsed onto my bed, still in my clothes, trying to find a moment of peace. But my sleep was filled with the wildest dreams. I dreamt of Elizabeth, healthy and beautiful, and as I kissed her, her lips turned the color of death. Her features changed, and suddenly I was holding the corpse of my own mother, wrapped in a shroud, with grey worms crawling on the fabric. I jolted awake in horror, covered in a cold sweat, my teeth chattering, and there, by the dim moonlight, I saw him, the miserable monster I had created. He held up the curtain of my bed, his eyes fixed on me. His jaw opened, and he muttered something, a grin wrinkling his cheeks. He reached out a hand as if to stop me, but I tore myself away and ran downstairs. I spent the rest of the night in the courtyard, pacing in terror, listening for any sound that might be him. No mortal could bear the sight of that face. Not even a reanimated mummy could be as hideous. My dream, my life's work, had become a living hell. The change was so fast, the collapse so complete. Morning finally came, dismal and wet. I fled into the streets, walking quickly, trying to escape the wretch I feared was lurking around every corner. I didn't dare go back to my apartment. I just kept walking, drenched in rain, my heart pounding with fear. As I wandered, I found myself opposite Anne in just as a coach was arriving. It was the Swiss diligence, and when the door opened, my friend Henry Clerval sprang out. "My dear Frankenstein," he exclaimed. Seeing Clerval brought me such relief. In that moment I forgot all my horror and misfortune. For the first time in months, I felt a calm, serene joy. I grabbed his hand, and we walked towards my college. He talked about our friends and how he'd finally convinced his father to let him study here. But then he stopped and looked at me. "My dear Frankenstein," he said, "I didn't notice before how very ill you look. You're so thin and pale. You're right, I told him. I've been so busy with one particular job that I haven't been resting. I trembled just thinking about the night before. As we got to my college, a horrifying thought struck me. The creature might still be in my apartment. I was terrified to see it, but even more terrified for Henry to see it. I told him to wait downstairs and I sprinted up to my room. My hand was on the doorknob when I paused, a cold shiver running through me. I threw the door open, but the room was empty. My bedroom was also free of its hideous guest. I could hardly believe my luck. I clapped my hands for joy and ran back down to Clerval. Back in my room, the servant brought breakfast. But I couldn't contain myself. It wasn't just joy. I felt an overwhelming sensitivity. I jumped over chairs, clapped my hands, and laughed out loud. At first, Clerval thought I was just happy to see him, but then he saw the wildness in my eyes. My loud, heartless laughter frightened him. "My dear Victor," he cried, "what on earth is the matter? Don't laugh like that. How ill you are. Don't ask me," I shouted, covering my eyes because I thought I saw the dreaded spectre glide into the room. "He can tell you. Oh, save me, save me." I imagined the monster grabbing me, and I struggled furiously until I fell down in a fit. That was the start of a nervous fever that kept me in bed for months. Henry was my only nurse. He was so kind, concealing how sick I was from my family to spare them the grief. All I could see was the form of the monster I had created, and I raved about him endlessly. Slowly, very slowly, I began to recover. I remember the first time I felt any pleasure again. The dead leaves were gone, and new buds were on the trees outside my window. It was a divine spring, and it helped me heal. My gloom disappeared, and my old cheerfulness returned. "Dearest Clerval," I said one day, "you have been so good to me. How can I ever repay you?" He smiled. "You'll repay me by getting well. And since you're in such good spirits, can I talk to you about something?" I trembled. One subject could he mean? "Compose yourself," he said, noticing my panic. "I won't mention it if it agitates you, but your father and cousin would love to get a letter from you. They're worried by your long silence." "Is that all?" I said, relieved. Of course, my first thought would be of them. "If that's how you feel," he said, "you might be glad to see this letter that's been waiting for you. I believe it's from your cousin."